On the face of it, the initial trailer and previews for Wanted Dead looked quite interesting. A unique mixture of sword and gun combat, cover shooter mechanics, all from some of the original creators of Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive? Sign me up! So I did, and after spending 12 to 15 hours or so with review code, I've come to the conclusion that frankly, this game just isn't very good. Equally, I'm not very good at it, but we'll get into that. So join me and the elite zombie unit of a future Cyberpunk-ish Hong Kong in the XboxEra review of Wanted Dead. Allow me, if you please, to set the stage. Wanted Dead is set in a cyberpunk-inspired future Hong Kong, and you play as the stoic Lieutenant Stone, the leader of an elite police unit called the Zombie Unit. Normally, I'd seek to not spoil the plot, but as I honestly had no idea what the fuck was going on throughout most of my playthrough, I'll skip that particular courtesy. Trust me, none of it makes any sense. Shadowy corporations, synthetic android people, an obvious bad guy in charge that's definitely going to be the final boss. It's all completely and utterly nonsensical. It tries to do some interesting things, so it's certainly quirky, but they are seemingly at random and don't really help to deliver much in terms of exposition. There are also occasions where the main character falls over for a bit and experiences some memories in the form of short pieces of anime. The game honestly feels like it's been dug out of the early 2000s bargain bin and released untouched for us to enjoy. Plough through hordes of identical enemies in bland, poorly designed environments with the appropriately awful voice acting to match. It's not all bad though, and I'll touch on some of the things I liked in a bit. First up though, I need to talk about difficulty. I was a big fan of Ninja Gaiden Black and Ninja Gaiden 2. I've completed both, and I'm fairly used to the challenge these sorts of games throw at you. However, it was over a decade ago, and perhaps my reflexes have slowed somewhat since then. But my god, I found this game to be utterly brutal. Not in a fair, learn to master the sword kind of way, but more in the poorly designed, bad camera, irritating one-hit kill enemies kind of way. After many repeated deaths, I was treated to an offer to lower the difficulty from normal to Nico-chan mode. A quick Google advised that this was the cute cat mode. Thinking I could at least play through on easy and then just revisit once I'd honed my skills a bit, I gracefully accepted a mixture of amusement and annoyance at being compared to a hapless kitten. Very kindly, the game went a step further to remind me of my lack of skills by affixing a set of cat ears to the main character, which would remain present throughout the rest of the playthrough. Thanks devs, well played. So let's get the good stuff out of the way. The actual moment-to-moment combat in Wanted Dead is, at first glance, quite enjoyable. A mixture of cover shooting, hack and slash swordplay and bullet time pistol wielding may leave players, certainly for the first level at least, moderately pleased with the purchase. Combos involve a mixture of slashing sword with X interspersed with pistol shots on Y to string together combos. You can parry attacks, but I found the parry next to useless most of the time with none of the slick responsiveness of Ninja Gaiden. There is something super neat here with the combat, and I have hopes it's something we'll see fleshed out in a future game. There are also cover mechanics, but in a game where the premise is to constantly be on the move, it felt utterly redundant. Sure, you could scavenge some weapons from the battlefield and cheese bigger enemies from behind cover, but the more challenging ones are so bullet spongy there was little point. You can equip different stocks and scopes to both your rifle and pistol to change recoil and stopping power and so on, but it's a fairly bare-bones system, much like the game's skill tree. The skill tree allows players to add some additional bits and pieces to your moveset, and the pace at which you unlock them is fairly swift. This is in part to the game actually being super short, with only 5 actual real levels to play through, the final of which is so utterly drawn out and repetitive it became monotonous. The same background music on loop, the same enemies thrown at you over and over, narrow corridors where the camera barely functions, a couple of nonsense cutscenes and a final boss. That level went on for so long, it actually started to feel like some of the texture work and assets repeated themselves so often, it was as if they were straight out of the Unreal Marketplace. There's also a lot of repeated audio lines in the game, sound effects for enemy deaths. There are seemingly only 2 variations on ARG repeated ad nauseum, as well as my squad shouting grenade in exactly the same tone, over and over and over. The boss fights basically involve hacking and slashing at your enemy whilst constantly spamming evade, with some attacks virtually killing you in one hit if you're not at maximum health. There's a mixture of invisible purple-haired sniper ladies, strange veiny blonde man, big burly robot man, other big burly robot man in armour, and a mixture of standard grunts and the occasional ninja. The AI itself is pretty rudimentary. Many times combatants just stand around you for a bit before choosing to attack. There's also the opportunity to fight spider tanks, which has been lifted straight out of Ghost in the Shell, if that's your thing. One of the levels takes place in the police headquarters, which is a hub of sorts that you can explore during the levels themselves. When it's not under attack and full of bad guys, the police headquarters is full of side activities, like claw game cabinets, ramen eating mini-games, and even a spot of karaoke. The rhythm games of eating and singing are particularly awful in that the button presses don't actually seem to keep in time to the music behind them, so sadly it's just painful, dreadful filler that I'm sure some folks may find charming. I never went back to play them out of choice after their initial introduction. As the game and its plot drew to a close, as characters conversed about the truth being revealed, we're treated to a final cutscene before the credits rolled. Maybe there is more to this game at higher difficulties? After being brought back to the main menu in a state of genuine bemusement, I considered pursuing another playthrough. I decided against it. I actually value my time, and the one saving grace of the game, its unique sword gun combat, is not enough to suffer through it again. I'll leave it to others to find out. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and hey, why not ring that notification bell so that we can let you know when we've got some fresh content. And we'll see you next time.